that, it is my great pleasure to introduce our speakers today. We have Andy Zhang, who's the co-founder and CTO of Tower, which is a new agentic data room. And he'll be sharing a little bit about Tower. And then we have Fernanda Suriani and her colleagues from the from the Brazilian government, who will introduce us to the PACIFICA project, which is an AI-assisted platform that accelerates eligibility checks for maternity benefits. And so, so two quite different projects that we're going to learn about. We're excited to have you. Before we get started, I have Marshall Silva here today, who's a new member of the group. I don't know, Marshall, you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, thank you. So basically, I'm building what we would call a triage law firm to help accident victims in the U.S. Find the right law firm that will actually take good care of their case, and hopefully better care of their case than the billboard lawyers that most of them or many of them end up working with. So I'd actually be very interested in meeting Bruce or other people who are interested in access to justice related challenges. Cool. I think it ties very closely with what we're doing.
Yeah, Marshall, maybe in one of our next meetings you can come in and talk a little bit about your platform. It seems like a really cool project you're working on.
Thank you.
But good. Well, with that, I think I'll just turn it over to Andy. And we give each group 30 minutes, but if you could leave about half of your time for a Q&A, that would be great.
Yeah, thanks, Roland. Should I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Perfect. It's great meeting everyone. I know people were talking about Californian weather. Very jealous. We used to live in San Francisco, but we moved up north, out east, because that's where all the lawyers are. Can you folks see my screen?
It's been raining for days here, anyways, overall.
I take rain over hail any day. So great meeting everyone. Love how everyone's working on very altruistic things. We're building a data room for M&A lawyers. And the idea is that our data room helps manage your request list, and we also automate a huge chunk of due diligence. We went through Y Combinator last year, and now we work with AmLaw 30 law firms in the States, 7 sister law firms in Canada, and Deca billion-dollar serial acquirers. So these are companies that buy other companies and hold them. I think for the purposes of today, I'm just going to go through what the workflows currently look like, and then go through a quick demo of our product before leaving it to Q&A. But if folks have questions during the presentation, please don't hesitate to interrupt. So currently on the buy-side workflow, this is what the process looks like. And for folks who aren't familiar with corporate lingo, buy-side is basically when a company buys another company. The company that pays is the buy-side. So when investors invest in a company, or when an M&A company buys another company, they're considered buy-side. When the deal kicks off, when the due diligence kicks off, you typically start with a request list, and a request list looks something like this. It's typically a Word or Excel document that has a list of asks that the buyer is asking the seller. So the buyer would want to see financial records, employment agreements, customer contracts, and the like. Typically, this process starts with the buyer sending the request list to the seller, and the seller will go back and forth between the two over email and dump a huge chunk of documents. Typical deal documents range from thousands of documents per deal to hundreds of thousands of documents per deal. And when the buyer gets those documents, they have to go through, loop in their associates from different parts of the firm, such as HR associates or environmental associates, and they have to review these documents. And that review process can be very lengthy. But at the end of the review process, they still have to go back to the request list, figure out what things are still outstanding, add in the follow-up requests, and then repeat the same process over and over again. I think the two main takeaways that folks should take away from this is that manual review is like a huge time sink. And a lot of deals are actually unprofitable for a lot of law firms because of the manual review. This is especially the case with smaller deals. So like a lot of venture deals, for instance, typically go over budget because of this, and the firms could take a loss. And on top of that, a lot of folks tend to focus on the document review part of the workflow, but the project management is equally as painful. We've spoke with hundreds of lawyers, and there's some really creative ways that folks keep track of things, but it's still highly manual, and it's just an unpleasant process overall. So the two main pain points in this due diligence workflow is the doc review, and less focused on, but still very severe, is the project management. And this is where Tower comes in. So in the Tower workflow, everything is done through the Tower platform, including responding to the request list if possible. And also, we have AI tools to both help organize and review bulk documents within the data room. So Tower takes the brunt of project management, and we can review hundreds and thousands of documents at the same time. So let me quickly show what this looks like. So if folks are in the corporate world, they're probably very familiar with this view. This is a typical data room view. You have your different folders, and within each folders, you have files. But before we dive into any of the AI features, I want to quickly talk about the project management piece, which is the request list. So currently, you can create a request list either through the platform by uploading your own request list, which I've done here already. We parse out your request list with AI, or a lot of firms have templates. So if there are typical templates that folks like to use to get the V1 request list up, we can bake it within the platform. And within this request list, you can invite your collaborators or your respondents, and you can assign to different people. So this is a much better way to keep track of the request list than the back and forth Excel or Word docs. And going in, there's also a history of the request list. So typically in a lot of deals, you'd have to version your request list. So are folks in the corporate world by any chance? Or formerly in the, okay. I see Bruce, hands up. So you're probably very familiar with this, or your associates are probably very familiar with this. So this is a huge pain because it's a lot of manual back and forth email threads, hard to keep track of everything. So we just have everything built within this platform. And on top of that, whenever you create a request list within our platform, we'll create folders corresponding to that request list, and we'll organize the data room according to these folders. So if you upload a document or dump a documents more likely here, we will actually go through and we'll read the documents and we'll organize them according to the request list. So this saves a lot of admin time upfront in these deals. So let's take a look at what these documents actually look like in our platform. So also for organization, we have reasoning. So you can double check that everything's kosher before you just accept it. And within the documents themselves, we rename everything based on a precedent, and we also give a quick summary. A lot of folks, because we work with such large firms, they typically have international operations, and a lot of the folks find it really helpful for non-English documents. So a lot of folks will be able to go through Spanish documents or Hebrew documents and use our AI to basically summarize and rename back to English. So that's the gist of the main data room. And let me show you the review features.
Recording in progress.
Okay, we're getting some background noise from someone. If you could put yourself on mute, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you, Roland. So for the review features, you create a review table. You can select as many documents as you want. So for these, I'm just going to select the 6 customer contracts. And here are the terms. This is based on all of our iterations. This is the latest version. So people can predefine terms. These are all pre-baked, or you can add a custom term. So Bruce, what would be a term that you would ask your associates to look for in these deals for customer contracts? If you still
customer contracts, let's say the expiration dates,
expiration,
or license conditions.
Okay, so I think license conditions is a term that we don't have baked. So you can add a custom term, and then we'll generate a prompt to ask the AI. So this way, lawyers don't have to be prompt engineers. They can still get a very thorough prompt without having to go through the effort.
Licensee shall not, and then there'll be lots of terms that they can't use whatever the IP is.
Exactly. So license restrictions,
Yes.
essentially.
Yeah.
Perfect. So once everything is selected, oh, by the way, we also have some workflows, so you can save a lot of these terms in just one click. And this is really helpful for the junior associates who have to do the bulk of this work. And I can start extracting. This is just going through to analyze every single document, extract the terms, and but also reason over them. So that's the difference between a tool like this versus a more traditional machine learning tool that folks might be familiar with. That's based on pattern matching.
Well, so what? Okay. Well, so what does reasoning mean in this connection?
Yeah, so reasoning means that the model is trying to understand the context of the extracted passages, not just the pattern match. Are you folks familiar with tools like Kira?
Yeah, I haven't used it, but I know about Kira. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Kira is probably one of the most popular doc review tools right now. And what they do is a pattern match. So they take your phrase and they try to find the passages within the document. We go one step above in that we try to understand the context of the passages before we surface it. So we'll catch a lot more stuff that just general pattern matching won't catch. For instance, change of control. When you look for change of control clauses, there are some assignment clauses that are technically change of control. If you just pattern match change of control, you may miss those assignment clauses, but we'll be able to catch it because we understand the context of the entire document. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Hey, Bruce, I see you've got your hands up.
But just because you've called on me in the front row, I thought I should throw you back a question, which is assume that you found the license restrictions and you're buying a company and you're trying to figure out how much of its revenues are coming from using licensed software or licensed product of some kind and might be at risk, that amount of those revenues from the way that they are using licensed IP. How could you interpolate that in your
Yes.
data room?
So we actually have single document AI as well. So let me just pull up do I have any maybe like IP agreements might have some license stuff. So you can ask it questions like you would ask ChatGPT, but the difference here is that everything gets sourced back to the contract. So the question was, are there any license restrictions on this contract? If so, what would be? So now our agent will be able to read through this document and come up with an answer. This is helpful for single document review. So when you have a specific question for one document, this is a quick and dirty way to get the answer. Okay, so it says, so there's a field of use restriction in 5.7. And by the way, everything is sourced back to the contract, which would consider the source of truth. So it won't hallucinate anything. So just quickly reading through this. Yeah, so it doesn't seem like it mentions revenue in this contract, but it does mention several restrictions and some carve outs, it looks like. So this is just a quick and dirty way to review one document. And going back to the table, I think it should be done now. This is what the end table looks like. We have the answer on top. Again, this is sort of the reasoning piece. It gives you the answer directly instead of just pattern matching. And there's also the reasonings. And we added this because we've got a lot of feedback from big law partners. They want their associates to learn. So this is just a way to teach their associates about why the AI returned this answer. So the idea is that typically associates have to go through this manually. This is just getting more at-bats for them so they can, hammer through hundreds of these terms at once. And we also have, of course, the citations, which is the most important part. And we also built some project management features for folks to review these documents quickly, double check everything. And this whole flow is designed to be AI driven, but human reviewed. So humans would still go through this, review everything. That's something else that is very important for big law firms, especially. It's the fiduciary duty of reviewing everything before passing it off to their customers. And
How did you I mean, in this kind of contextual search that you showed before, how do you verify that your algorithms retrieving all the relevant clauses, and how did you train the model?
Yeah, so we have an agentic workflow behind the scenes. So it's not quite like fine-tuning any models or using proprietary models. It's more so chaining a series of models in like a very thorough and complex workflow. So behind the scenes, we actually expand before we extract, and then we recompress. So it's a lot of, forgive the technical jargon, it's a lot of like map reducing. And the way we've done the accuracy, it's just brute forcing it. My co-founder is a corporate lawyer. He's practiced for half a decade, so he's gone through all of this work, and he probably reviewed thousands of documents for us in building this tool.
Okay.
I see we still have a bit of time left, so I'll show the Tower agent. What this does is give direct deliverables from this table. So a lot of times we've noticed associates would dump hundreds of documents in here. They would review them. But the issue is it's hard to synthesize findings over hundreds of documents. You can actually ask our AI to synthesize the results. So let's take a look. How many of these? List them for Roland. And what this does is that it reads through this entire table and it summarizes the results. The way that we've seen folks use our tool, especially the multi-doc search, is to verify the works of juniors. So a senior associate or a partner would reanalyze the documents that juniors analyze to double check that everything's kosher. We've also seen people use this for documents of different languages. So we get a lot of overseas deals, and people will be able to analyze the different languages in English. Bruce, I see you've got your hands up.
Well, I don't want to crowd out anybody else asking questions, but as the corporate lawyer that I was and still am, I guess, I wonder how you concatenate the results that you get with this document review to recommend a holdback in, let's say, the purchase price for the company based on the risks that the document review reveals. So you know, in my hypothetical, there was some issues as to whether some parts of the revenue would be at risk if the licensor chose to be aggressive. How would the platform give you some range of holdback on price or estimate the dollar amount of the risk based on looking at all the due diligence, or is that solely left to the corporate law firm to negotiate?
Yeah, that's an amazing question, Bruce. And to summarize, it's a little bit of both. So if everything's within one document, you can actually extract the different terms here and ask the AI to analyze it. But if it's multi-document, that's not something that we currently support. So if you have one document with multiple amendments, you'd have to combine them into one document before you upload it to our platform. Or as you mentioned, the lawyers would have to figure that part out themselves. The idea for the multi-doc extraction is to basically find the terms that a lawyer would use to conduct their analysis, but the lawyer would still handle the strategics. Like they would determine, hey, is this risky, or is this material, etc. So we don't make the judgments for them. We just provide them with the tools to make the judgment. Hey, Roger.
Okay, Roger, do you have?
Well done. As a former corporate lawyer that has paper cuts still after 20 years from doing this work mind-numbingly. How do you deal with the process of confirming missing pages, missing exhibit, missing signatures? Does your AI do a search to make sure you're getting the right documents and that there aren't any imperfections in them?
That's a fantastic question, Roger. It's actually one of the biggest asks from our customers. And we don't have it in this build, but in our next build, whenever you upload a document, we automatically check for expiration, missing pages, and missing signatures. So it'll come up. Right now, we just flag duplicates, but in the future, we'll also have other issues here, and people will be able to select them. We're piloting that with a couple of customers right now, but it's not in the main prod build.
Okay, just remember to add missing exhibits.
Missing exhibits. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's an interesting problem to solve actually, because it's not just semantics. So it's not like there's a pattern you can match. It actually comes with understanding, which is why it's interesting to solve with LLMs versus a traditional pattern matching.
Yes, and it's so critical. As a lawyer, the first thing you have to do is to make sure you actually have every document, and your closing binder, the lawyers deliver you a single PDF with 500 pages in it. And if you've had an amendment in 6 months, you go back to the original and it's not updated. And so lawyers, I was neurotic, do I really have the final version? Oh my God, there's no signature on this page. Where is it real? So it's a huge problem. You can't give good advice with bad documents.
Yeah, exactly. I think you've nailed the issue on the head. I think going back to this, a lot of folks focus on the review documents part, but equally painful is getting everything set up. And I think I'm sure the real corporate lawyers here have probably experienced the pain. It's not as sexy of a problem as the doc review, but it's still a problem. And that's why we've built 50% of our product for the project management and 50% for the doc review.
So,
Well,
Andy, oh, I'm sorry, Roger. I apologize.
I'm helping clients upstream of the mess that you're dealing with, where we have an enterprise capture system where we capture every single document that comes into the enterprise, tag it, organize it, validate it, and file it into an internal VDR, and assign individual access rights across the enterprise, so only people see as they need. So by the time one of my clients gets bought by one of your clients using the system, everything that goes into your platform will be validated, accurate, and completely actionable.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Sounds like you're already one step ahead of the game.
Well, it's an interesting
So
game.
Laverne wanted to follow up on your on how your co-founder sort of brute forced the system and how he sort of verified the outputs in this agentic process. And if the system's able then to learn from initial human input, in this process.
We don't have training. And that's something very explicit because our customer base are enterprises, enterprise law firms, enterprise M&A shops. So they find that they're very territorial about IP. So we've made a very explicit decision to not have a reinforcement loop within our product itself. So what I mentioned with Noah, my legal co-founder, going through thousands of documents and hundreds of terms, is that we use those, like the data set that he's built, to test our product as we iterate. That's the only quote unquote training that we do. Other than that, we don't use any reinforcement loops to improve the agent based on customer usage.
And Andy, can you say a few words about where you are as a company at this point? So you said you have a working product, you have a bunch of customers already. What's the journey going to look like going forward? Is this sort of you're going to, master the world of due diligence? Are there adjacent products that you foresee? What's on your mind there? Are you funded? Already generating revenue?
Yeah, well, we're generating revenue. We went through Y Combinator and we've raised some money from eager customers. So a lot of our customers have angel checks, but that's the extent of fundraising that we've done. I think the goal is to fundraise probably in December and start scaling. Yeah, it's been pretty tough because we're a small team to both handle the customer success globally and also ship fast enough. So today, for instance, at 8 a.m., I had European calls, and during the day, I've been with our North American customers, and in the evenings, I'll be dealing with the Aussies. So it's tough for me to find time to actually ship product. So it'd be nice for me to offload that to some talented engineers, hopefully, so I can focus on the customer piece. Gotcha.
Okay, well, good. So I think as one other question was, if you can do it across different languages too, from Scott, and one question from Abid, if you're using multi-models to arrive at the final analysis.
Yeah, so multi-language is supported. I'm not sure if I have any multiple language contracts in here. Yeah, if folks have a multi-language contract, I can actually upload it to the platform right now and just show how that works. But if not, we do handle multiple languages, and we do use a variety of different models for different things.
Okay. Your business model is sort of subscription, or is it based on the amount of documents uploaded, or how does it work?
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. Because the customers we deal with are so large, they typically want custom pricing. Just for some context, typical VDR pricing is per deal with a gigabyte limit, and that's the model that we try to do. But some of the smaller customers, where customers in pilot, they prefer to have a per seat model, so we have that as well. But typically, there's a limit on the amount of documents they can upload, and then it's either a per seat or a per deal model.
Got it. Okay, I think I'm not sure you answered the question from Abid on the multi-models, whether you use multi-models for the final analysis.
Yeah, multiple models. That's actually one of the toughest parts about building this product from an engineering perspective, is that when people dump thousands of documents, it's very hard to find enough compute to actually analyze all of those documents. Yeah, like Claude, GPT, Gemini, all the usual suspects, because certain models are good at certain things. So that's why we both spread out our compute over different models, and also increase our performance by using different models for different things.
Okay. Well, great. Thank you so much, Andy. And I think you shared your email already. Maybe you can put it up again or put it in the chat. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. This is great. Quick round of applause to you, and yeah, all the best. And you're located in Toronto, or where are you?
Yeah, we moved back to Toronto because it was just kind of a pain flying to New York and Toronto from SF. So we figured we'll sacrifice the weather. We'll deal with the winters, but we'll be closer to our customers.
Well, okay. Well, good luck with the winter, and please keep us posted.
Yeah, thank you. And just a quick plug: if folks know any innovation people or are innovation people at big law firms, I'd love to chat with you.
Yeah, there may be some in this group. So yeah, please connect with Andy if you need an AI agentic data room. And yeah, thank you again, Andy. We appreciate you sharing the story of Tower with us. And yeah, we'll turn it over to Fernanda, Ricardo, and Andrea now to learn a little bit about the PACIFICA project.
Thank you. I'm gonna share my screen. Thank God. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay. So, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Roland. Thank you, Bruce, for inviting us to be in this CodeX meeting today. I think our talk will be slightly different from the ones you're used to hear in these sections. We're not going to talk about business models, profit, revenue. Since we are government representatives, we have different success metrics. So we are seeking for citizens' miles, granted rights, and social impact. So let's give you a little bit of context. Okay, why it's not moving? Hang on. Here we go. So let me give you a little bit of context about Brazil. We are one of the 10 largest economy in the world in terms of GDP, but we still have profound social inequalities. So we have, for instance, 4 million people living below the poverty line. 3 in 10 Brazilians has functional illiteracy. They don't know how to do simple math or interpret a text. And 30 million, they live without piped water in their homes. So there are millions of vulnerable people, citizens, that they don't know their rights. And even if they know, they have several barriers to access them, to claim for them. which means that these inequalities are also reflected in our justice system. We have plus more than 85 million cases going on in our courts nowadays, which take 2 to 4 years to be resolved. We have the largest backlog in the world. And if we take a look actually in the research made by the World Justice Project, we found out that 69% of Brazilians that have perceived a civil legal issue in the last 2 years, only 1% of them have accessed the justice. But why is that? If we take a look in the taxonomy of the parties that we have in our legal cases, we will see that 25% are repeat players, and the biggest one is the Social Security Agency. Now imagine a rural mother in Brazil that has her newborn baby, and she asks for her maternity benefit, and it is denied by the Social Security Agency. What actually are her options? Navigate the judicial system, it's gonna be overwhelming and almost impossible. And even if she starts a lawsuit today, until she gets her benefit, her newborn will be already talking and running around. And that's why the Attorney General Office launched PACIFICA, which is an online dispute resolution platform that aims to deliver access to justice in a more fast and efficient way. And also, we are collecting data to improve our policies, our public policies, with the origin. I mean, we want to understand the cause roots of the conflict and to prevent it proactively. The platform is automated end-to-end, so since the request until the enforcement of the agreement, we have automation on it that makes it fast in deliver justice. And we try to make it with a user-friendly platform so that the citizens can help themselves to navigate and to resolve their conflicts. It's important to note that the pilot, the pilot project we are launching with the Brazilian, of the Public Defense Office, but the platform, the goal of it, it's in the future to resolve any kind of conflict between the administration and the citizens. So let me explain a little bit how it works. So that mother that has her benefit denied in her mobile phone has to give us some basic information without the need to repeat details or to download documents again that are already given to the agency. And we produce a small video that actually, because of our public is low educated, so we have to have videos, tutorials to show them how to use the platform and to empower them to use it. I'm going to share with you. It's very quick.
Did you know there's now a quick, easy, and secure way to request a new analysis of a denied benefit? PACIFICA, a platform for immediate and final self-resolution of administrative disputes, is a digital service created by the Attorney General's Office. It's a fast and secure way for anyone who's had a request denied by a government agency to negotiate directly with the administration to fulfill their previously submitted request. This approach avoids the need for judicial proceedings, allowing for a simple and fast resolution. Initially, the platform will handle dispute resolutions involving Social Security issues with the INSS, National Institute of Social Security. Later, the services will be expanded to other agencies in other areas of the federal administration. See how simple and easy it is. First, go to pacifica.gov.br. Then, log into the Gov system with your CPF and password. Click Request here. Now, just fill in the requested information: the state where you live, the child's CPF, your CPF, the number of the benefit that was denied, and the date of the request. Oh, and you can find the benefit number in the letter denying or accessing my benefits at my INSS, National Institute of Social Security. Then, you need to click on the terms of the agreement, scroll down to read them, and click the button to agree to the terms. You can now track your request through PACIFICA. The review period is 30 days. If an agreement is reached, the AGU, Authority of Attorneys, forwards it to the INSS, and you will receive payment information within 45 days. After this period, you should contact the INSS. If the matter cannot be resolved through PACIFICA, the result will appear in a follow-up, and you can pursue other options. Please note, at this time, only the Federal Public Defender's Office can submit requests through the platform, and it will only review maternity pay requests from special beneficiaries, i.e., women from rural areas and traditional communities such as rural workers, artisanal fishermen, indigenous women, and Quilombolas, descendants of Quilombolas. PACIFICA was created to accelerate the recognition of rights, ensuring greater dignity for citizens, and reducing legal proceedings. Okay.
So, let me explain how it works from inside. Once the request is made by the mother, so the workflows, the automated workflows, it will search for the family information in government database. And it will try to search for impediments for the agreement. If no impediments were found, then it starts searching for evidence. The evidence, they were predetermined by legal criteria from the Attorney General Office. And the system generates this document that you can see over there, which the analysis with the source they use to analyze the impediment or the evidence, and a little bit of reasoning about how if the impediment is true or not. So in this way, we have a little bit of we have the system being auditable and also explainable in a certain amount. And it's also worth to know that the settlement terms were predetermined by the expertise that was developed in the legal cases from the Attorney General Office. So the prompts, they embed in the system all those expertise. Once that document is generated, then the workflow automated generates a task to the attorney and includes tags showing if there is impediment or evidence. And the attorney will then review all of it and see if it's a case or not of agreement. In case we have an agreement, then the system will communicate with the Social Security Agency via API. And the agency will enforce it also in an automatically way. So the implementation, the enforcement of the agreement is also automated. And our first results are very reassuring because we have an average of 38 days to the whole process since the request until the implementation of the benefit and the payment. So comparing to the 2 to 4 years from the courts, it's very good. And also we have 86% rate of settlements, which is more than double that of court results. In terms of potential impact, only last year we have 172,000 of cases settled in courts that fit the criteria to be analyzed in PACIFICA, which means that we have the potential to free courts for more complex texts and at the same time giving citizens a faster, more efficient, and more accessible way to resolve their conflicts. And actually, this is that mother that had her benefit denied. Now with PACIFICA, she will have her benefit, file her claim, see some documents, and receive her benefit from her home with a few clicks in her mobile phone while she's still breastfeeding. And actually, this is already happening. And I'd like to share with you some testimonials of the lawyers and the citizens. Hang on a second. Not working. Okay, I have to take this off.
Fiz um atendimento no mutirão, no quilombo Pitanga dos Palmares, em Simões
wait.
Filho, aqui na Bahia.
Not this one. This one is not with the captions. Here we go. Again. Sorry about that.
Fiz um atendimento no mutirão, no quilombo Pitanga dos Palmares, em Simões Filho, aqui na Bahia. E, por incrível que pareça, a esmagadora maioria dos atendimentos que eu fiz nesse dia foram de assistidas, foram mais ou menos umas 20 assistidas que eu atendi só de salário e maternidade.
Então eu quero agradecer muito essa oportunidade e de ter sido contemplada com esse benefício que para mim foi muito importante. A gente já mora em um lugar que é desfavorecido, com poucos acessos, e esse dinheiro vai me ajudar muito, né, para algumas conquistas pessoal, né, para mim, para meus filhos, minha família.
Algumas ainda não tinham feito requerimento administrativo e receberam essa orientação, e outras já tinham tido o benefício negado. E assim, durante o próprio atendimento, durante o mutirão, eu já inseri os dados delas no sistema PACIFICA, e todas as que eu fiz desse dia no mutirão tiveram o acordo realizado.
Através desse vídeo eu vim agradecer à Defensoria Pública da União e também ao sistema da PACIFIC por ter hoje um benefício da maternidade rural concedido, pois tentei dar entrada assim no nascimento do meu filho e eu tive meu benefício negado. E hoje, graças ao sistema, eu pude ter ele concedido. Por questão, em menos de 20 dias eu tive o meu resultado positivo e agora só aguardando o momento de receber meu dinheiro. Fica aqui minha imensa gratidão.
Durante esses meses de desenvolvimento da plataforma PACIFICA, deu para a gente perceber como ela é uma plataforma simples, porém eficaz. Simples porque o manejo foi muito rápido e direto. Eficaz porque a gente atingiu um alto índice de resolução dos casos. Esse é exatamente o objetivo da Defensoria Pública da União. A gente consiga entregar para o assistido uma resposta rápida, eficaz e garantir o seu direito. A Defensoria Pública da União preza pela resolução extrajudicial dos seus conflitos. E essa plataforma vem a calhar com o que a gente deseja. Nesse período de experiência, nós conseguimos atingir mais de 80% das resoluções extrajudiciais do conflito. É menos processo judicializado, é mais benefício concedido e mais satisfação das nossas pretensões.
So I think that's
We're broadcasting from the
Oh my
UN
God.
Climate Summit. That's COP30
Sorry.
from the Brazilian city of
I'm sorry.
Okay. All good, but that's great. What a cool project. Do you have a sense? Do you have a sense whether those benefits were initially denied due to sort of mistakes that the government agencies made, or due to the fact that the forms that are available are so complex that these populations couldn't really effectively use the forms, and you're sort of helping with PACIFICA, you're helping making those forms more accessible?
Actually, we have a bit of both, because what happened is that in the agency, it has her own rules, and it's very strict rules how to analyze those cases, especially for the very vulnerable people. They don't have much documents, and they have to present a lot of documents, evidence to prove they are from rural areas, indigenous people, or quilombos. They are the descendants of the African slaves. So they have to prove, and they don't have much how to prove it. And mainly the problem is this. What happened is that our reasoning is different from the agency. What we look for is how the judge will decide that case. So the judicial risk. And we know that the judges are not so rigid in analyzing the case. It has a more holistic view of the person, of the family, and that's what we do. So instead of looking for like positive documents, we've tried to find out the absence of impediments. So we have a bit of different reasoning and how to analyze the case. And that's why we have a different approach and we have a better settlement rate.
So in a sense, so you were studying the cases, the court cases in these maternity benefits cases, and you looked at what arguments were successful in front of a judge, and you sort of trained PACIFICA to kind of like, to help people make those arguments, right? In a sense,
Yes.
You're like you guiding them through a process based on your knowledge about successful cases, and then you invite people who are using it to provide that information.
Yes.
Or
yeah.
hand, you
Sorry, go ahead.
The interface just showed people just had to fill in their social security number and their state. They weren't really asked to make an argument or something, even not a guided argument. Mm-hmm. Your system would just make that independently on behalf of the user. Is that right?
Yes. What happened is that we have access to a lot of government databases, which includes social information about them, wealth information about them. So since we have access to that, we can, cross all this data and understand what kind of people they are. And that's how we use, and also we have the access to all the database of the agency, of the Social Security Agency. So whatever they have already shown to the agency, we have access to. So they don't have to, replicate and restate what they already done. We simplified it the most that we can. We just ask for the information to individualize the case to see, because these moms usually they have 3-4 kids. So which kid are you talking about? And who are you? Where are you from? And then we can collect all the data we need to analyze the case in this government database.
Okay, cool. Let me see. Okay, so Alexandra is saying, wonderful work. And what is the most common reason for initial benefit denial? I think you talked about that already a little bit, but maybe you have some more examples. Hold on. How much attorney involvement is there in reviewing the AI analysis of the claim before resolution? And has claim resolution data helped improve the initial claim processing?
Yes, we actually we are the human oversight in this pilot we're taking 100% of the cases and analyzing it. We have a dashboard to analyze the accuracy of the AI, and Ricardo is the one that develops the prompts, so he's constantly monitoring and improving it. And what was the other question? The AI analysis. So, and we are having a very good. Do you want to talk, Ricardo, a little bit about this?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the invitation. To answer this question, I need to explain a little bit the architecture of the PACIFICA. There is no bias identified in the process. We use AI in a different form, in a very different form. The AI doesn't have the power to decide anything for us. It's just helping us to analyze the cases and the characteristics of the people that request the benefits. We decided to use the generative AI in the first, but we didn't want to simply throw an LLM with the problem. And while we all know that generative AI is probabilistic and it can hallucinate, and it's not good for strict rule enforcement. So our question in the design of the system was, how can we use probabilistic tools like LLMs to analyze legal documents without losing the need for deterministic and auditable results? The answer to answer this, we create a kind of hybrid model, a hybrid architecture, and we separate two workflows into different engines. We have an observation engine, the LLM, and a reasoning engine that use rule-based logic based on our expertise and analyzing this kind of case as attorneys at law. And the observation engine used GPT not to make legal decisions, but only to fact extraction, extract some kinds of information that's relevant to analyze the case. It reads natural language documents, reports, statements, data about the worker, and transforms these messy data, this messy human taste, into structured data that usually in JSON and JSON on file. It identifies dates, evidence of real works, and records of employment. Just this. AI is a tool to extract information. In the second moment, after the facts are extracted, and the LLM leaves the process, and we move to a second phase. In this phase, Brazilian social security laws and our settlement rules are written as an explicit deterministic code, and the system applies these rigid rules to extracted facts. The structure is very clear. We analyze if there is rural activity and no urban work is found. If based on this kind of if clauses, we conclude, the system conclude that the benefit should be granted or not granted. It helps the attorney at law that works in the case to decide at the end, but we not give the system the agency to decide. Is the attorney at law for this moment. We have always a review, and we don't observe any kind of bias because we use AI only to extract information from unstructured natural language in documents.
Cool. That's super interesting and helpful to understand that architecture, and also a nice example of bringing rules-based AI together with Gen AI, and it's a great. We're thinking a lot about that here at